I'm standing on the platform at Union Station at 11:47 p.m., and my hands are shaking so badly I can barely hold my phone. The last train to Portland left 3 minutes ago. 3 minutes. And I watched it pull away knowing that I'd just blown up my entire life. And now I'm stuck here in the dark with nothing but my overnight bag and the certainty that if I go back to that house tonight, I won't leave it alive. Not literally, but close enough. My name is Ashley, and I just ran away from my husband of 12 years. Let me back up, because this didn't happen in a vacuum. This is the kind of thing that takes years to build toward, you know? It's not like I woke up this morning and thought, today's the day I become a homeless divorcee. It started small. It always does. 3 years ago, everything was perfect. I'm not being sarcastic, I'm being honest. My life actually looked like those Instagram photos that make you hate your friends a little bit. Michael and I had just finished renovations on our house in Riverside, a 4-bedroom colonial with a wraparound porch and this ridiculous gourmet kitchen that I'd designed myself. The kind of place where you invite people over specifically so they'll compliment your subway tile backsplash. We had money. Not private jet money, but don't check your balance before buying coffee money. Michael was a senior analyst at Mercer Financial, 6 figures, 401k that made our financial advisor sound like he was describing a lottery win, stock options that seemed to multiply every quarter. I'd stepped back from my job as a graphic designer when we got serious about buying the house. That was my choice, technically. Michael had suggested it, but I agreed. Why pay for childcare and a nanny when we were planning to start a family anyway? It made sense on a spreadsheet. It made sense on paper. It made sense until it didn't. We had the kind of marriage that people use as a reference point. Our friends asked us for advice. How do you guys stay so connected? They'd ask over wine on the back patio, and I'd smile and say something about date nights and communication. We did date nights. Every other Friday we'd get a sitter for the neighborhood. Well, eventually, once we had our daughter Emma. She was born 2 years into the renovations, and she was perfect. Dark curls like her father, but my eyes. She was the final piece, the thing that made everything crystallize into this complete, gorgeous life. Michael was a good father. That's not sarcasm either. He'd come home and scoop her up before his shoes were off. He'd read her bedtime stories in these ridiculous character voices that made her giggle so hard she'd hiccup. On weekends, he'd take her to the farmer's market while I did yoga or got a pedicure. We were the kind of couple that made parenting look easy, which probably meant we were insufferable to people who were actually struggling. My mom called every Sunday. "You're so lucky," she'd say, and I'd agree because I was. I knew I was. I wasn't one of those women who took it for granted. I'd grown up watching my parents fight about money, watching my mother work double shifts while my dad drank away his potential. I'd made a conscious decision to do things differently. I'd married well. I'd been smart. The house sat on a corner lot in a gated community. HOA was $380 a month, which seemed reasonable for what you got. Maintained landscaping, a community pool, that sense of security that comes from having your neighborhood monitored. Our neighbors were the kind of people who waved at you without irony. The Mitchells had a golden retriever. The Kowalskis were retired. 2 houses down, the Hendersons were in the middle of their own renovation. It was quiet. It was safe. It was boring in the way that safety always is. Michael traveled for work about 1 week a month, Denver, Houston, sometimes Chicago, 3-4 days at a time. I never thought twice about it. He'd text me pictures from hotel bars. He'd call while he was waiting for his flight. He'd bring Emma a souvenir, a snow globe, a local chocolate bar, a t-shirt from a museum he'd probably never actually visited. Everything was normal. Then, 18 months ago, something shifted. I didn't notice it at first. These things creep up on you. He started keeping his phone on him constantly. Not unusual for someone in finance, but there was something about the way he'd reach for it. Protective, guarded. He'd get texts at odd hours, and he'd excuse himself to the bathroom to respond. He started taking work calls in his office with the door closed, which had never happened before. I remember asking him about it one night. We were in bed, some Netflix show playing that neither of us was really watching. I'd said something casual, something like, "You've been glued to your phone lately." He'd laughed it off. "New client account. It's high maintenance. Mercer wants me to be available." I believed him. Why wouldn't I? This was Michael, the man who'd cried at Emma's kindergarten graduation, the man who made our coffee before he made his own, the man who, on my 35th birthday, had rented a helicopter tour of the coast because I'd mentioned once, years ago, that I'd always wanted to do it. That's the thing about trust, though. It's like structural integrity in a house. You don't think about it until something starts to fail. I'm still standing on this platform and my phone buzzes. It's Michael. 12 missed calls now. The voicemail notification keeps popping up. I silence it without listening. The platform is almost empty. An old guy with a cart of belongings is asleep 3 benches down. A couple is making out against the far pillar like they don't care who sees them. Normal human moments in an abnormal night. Above me, the schedule board flickers. Next train to Portland, 6:15 a.m., 7 hours and 28 minutes from now. I sit down on a bench and open my bag. Inside is everything I took. 2 changes of clothes, my laptop, my wallet, Emma's birth certificate, and vaccination records. $3,000 in cash that I've been quietly pulling out of my personal account over the last 6 weeks. My wedding rings, both of them, sitting in a Ziploc bag like evidence. My phone buzzes again. This time, it's not Michael. It's a text from an unknown number, and my blood goes cold when I read it. "Ashley, it's Linda, Michael's mother. Where are you? Michael is losing his mind. Please call me." I turn the phone off, and that's when I notice someone standing at the far end of the platform watching me. A woman, maybe my age, maybe older, dark hair, exhausted eyes. She's holding a coffee cup and looking at me with the kind of recognition that only comes when someone sees themselves in you. She walks closer, slowly, like she doesn't want to startle me. "You're running too," she says. Not a question. I don't answer, but I don't look away either. She sits down on the bench across from me, and that's when everything changes. She sits down on the bench across from me, and that's when everything changes. "I'm Jennifer," she says, and her voice is raspy, like she's been crying for hours. "And I've got about 7 hours before my ex figures out where I went, so if you're thinking about going back, don't. It doesn't get better, it only gets worse." I don't know what to say. My mouth goes dry. This woman, Jennifer, she's looking at me like she knows exactly what's in my head, and that terrifies me more than anything that's happened tonight. "How did you know?" I whisper. "Because I was you. 48 hours ago, I was sitting in my car in a Whole Foods parking lot, trying to figure out if I had the guts to actually leave." She takes a sip of her coffee, and her hands are shaking too. "I did. And now I'm at Union Station at midnight with $6,200 in a bank account I opened under my maiden name and absolutely no plan." The specificity of it breaks something in me. $6,200. Not a fortune. Just enough to run. "What did he do?" I ask, and I'm not sure if I'm asking about her husband or mine. Jennifer laughs, but it's not a real laugh. It's the sound of someone who's already cried so hard, there's nothing left but the hollow echo of it. "What did yours do?" she counters. And that's when I realize I haven't actually said it out loud yet. Not to anyone. Not to Michael. Not to my mom. Not to the divorce attorney I've been secretly consulting via encrypted email for the past 6 weeks. I've lived in my head with this knowledge, hoarding it like a secret, and now a stranger is asking me to speak it into existence. "There's someone else," I say. The words feel sharp in my mouth. "A woman named Tanya. She works in the Denver office. Michael's he's been with her for at least 8 months, maybe longer." Jennifer nods like I've just confirmed something she already knew. "How did you find out?" she asks. "His phone," I say. "He left it on the kitchen counter during a conference call. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't even looking. Emma spilled juice on it and I was trying to dry it off, and a text came through. From her. It said, 'Can't wait to see you in Denver next week. Miss your hands on me.'" The memory hits me like a physical thing. I can see the kitchen, the afternoon light coming through the window. Emma in her high chair with a juice box, confused about why I'd suddenly gone very still. "How long ago was that?" Jennifer asks. 3 weeks, I say. 3 weeks, and I've been pretending everything is normal. I've made dinner, I've gone to the HOA meeting, I've listened to Linda talk about Thanksgiving plans. 3 weeks of smiling while my insides burned. What made you leave tonight? Jennifer leans forward. There's always a trigger, a moment where you realize you can't do it anymore. I think back to this evening, dinner with Michael's parents. Michael had been in that specific mood he gets when he's lying, overly attentive, touching my arm when he talked, making jokes that landed a little too hard. Linda had asked me about my Pilates class. His father had talked about some merger at Mercer. Emma had shown her grandmother a drawing she'd made at school. And then Michael had gone to the bathroom, and I'd seen the notification on his Apple Watch, which was sitting on the table. A message from Tanya. Just the preview. Can't wait for next month. Next month. There was a plan. An actual timeline. He's planning something with her, I tell Jennifer. Something that requires planning. And I couldn't sit there anymore. I couldn't pretend that I didn't know. So I went upstairs, packed a bag, told him I was going to stay at my sister's place in Portland for a few days because she needed help with something. He barely looked up from his laptop. Did you tell him the truth? Jennifer asks. No, I lied. I said Stephanie was having a crisis and I needed to be there. He believed me because he wanted to believe me. Because a lie that gets him off the hook is always going to be more convenient than the truth. Jennifer sets down her coffee cup and pulls her phone out. The screen is dark. I haven't turned mine on since I left, she says. I know he's called. I know his mother has called. I know there's probably already a story being constructed. I'm unstable. I'm having a breakdown. I stole something. I'm having an affair. It doesn't matter what the story is. What matters is that I'm gone. How long? I ask. How long until it gets easier? Jennifer's laugh this time is genuine, but it's sad. Honey, I have no idea. Ask me in 6 months. Ask me when the divorce is finalized. Ask me when I have to sit across from him in a mediator's office and discuss custody and 401k division. She pauses. I have a daughter, too. She's 9. I got her into a school in Portland that starts in January. I've been planning this for a year. The money, the job prospects, the custody agreement I drafted in a Google Doc that my attorney says is actually pretty solid. You have an attorney? Hope flares in my chest, sharp and painful. 3 consultations, Jennifer says, all done over encrypted video calls. I have a folder on my laptop labeled Tax Returns that actually contains screenshots of every financial transaction Michael made for the last 2 years. I have emails. I have a timeline. I have proof that he's been taking cash advances on his credit card, $12,000 in the last 4 months, and I know exactly what for. I feel like I'm falling. This woman has done the thing I've only half done. She's actually prepared. She's actually leaving. Not like me, raw and bleeding and hoping something breaks in my favor. How much did he have, I ask. In assets? In the marriage? About $2.1 million, Jennifer says flatly. House, retirement accounts, stock options, savings. Clean split is $1,050,000 to me in the divorce settlement. That's the number my attorney says I should fight for, and that's the number I'm going to get, because I have documentation of every penny he's hidden and every lie he's told to the IRS about his Denver business trips. $2.1 million. Michael's net worth is probably similar, maybe higher. The house alone is worth $840,000. The 401k is $420,000. There's the brokerage account with another $350,000. And I have $60 and a wedding ring. I'm not ready, I whisper. I'm not ready for any of this. Nobody is, Jennifer says. But you're here. You're on this platform. You're not going back. That means you're ready enough. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I turned it off, but apparently it's back on because there's a notification. Then another, text after text after text hitting the home screen. Michael, where are you? Michael, Stephanie says you're not there. Michael, Ashley, answer me. Linda, sweetheart, Michael is very upset. Please call us. Michael, I'm coming to get you. That last one sits on my screen like a threat. He's going to try to find you, Jennifer says, reading over my shoulder. He's going to call your friends. He's going to call your family. He's going to make it your problem, not his. What do I do? I ask, and I hate how small my voice sounds. First thing tomorrow morning, you call a divorce attorney. Not a consultation, you hire them. You give them everything you have, bank statements, credit card records, emails, whatever you've got. You tell them that you're leaving the marriage and you want an emergency protective order if you think there's any chance he'll try to intimidate you. There's not, I say. Michael's never been violent. He's not the type. Neither was mine, Jennifer says quietly, until he wasn't. A chill runs down my spine. What do you mean? I ask. Jennifer pulls up her sleeve. There's a bruise on her arm, purple and yellow and sickly looking, the shape of fingers. 2 weeks ago, she says, we were fighting about his affair. He told me I was being hysterical. I told him I wanted a divorce. He grabbed me and told me I wasn't going anywhere, that I wasn't taking his daughter anywhere, that if I tried to leave, he would make sure I never saw her again, and that nobody would believe me because I'm mentally unstable. She pulls her sleeve back down. That's when I knew I had to go. Not someday, not after I had a plan, right then. Did you call the police? I ask. No, because he's a senior analyst at a major financial firm, and I'm a freelance graphic designer who stepped out of the workforce to raise a child. Who do you think the police would believe? She looks at me hard. I have a daughter to protect, so I documented the bruise. I took pictures. I sent them to my attorney in an email, and then I started getting my ducks in a row. I'm shaking now, really shaking. The kind of shaking that comes from understanding, suddenly and completely, that the life you thought you had is not the life you actually have. The woman, Jennifer says. Tanya. What's her last name? Volkov, I say. Why? Because when you talk to your attorney, you tell them that you have reason to believe your husband has been engaging in an affair with a coworker and that you want a full forensic accounting of his finances. You tell them that you want to know about every trip, every hotel, every credit card charge. You tell them that you want to know if he's been using marital assets to fund this relationship. Is that legal? I ask. It's called discovery, Jennifer says, and it's going to cost money. But if he's been spending marital assets on his girlfriend, you're entitled to that information. It affects the settlement. My phone buzzes again. This time it's a call. Michael's name on the screen. I don't answer. Turn it off, Jennifer says, and tomorrow, first thing, you get a new phone, a burner. You give the number only to people you absolutely trust. Anyone else tries to reach you, you don't respond. This is insane, I say, but I'm turning off the phone as I speak. No, Jennifer says, this is survival. We sit in silence for a while. The old man 3 benches down snores softly. The couple against the pillar has moved on. The platform is emptier now, just us and the fluorescent lights and the weight of what we're both doing. Can I ask you something? I say finally. Anything, Jennifer says. Do you regret it? Leaving? Jennifer thinks about this for a long moment. Every single day, she says. I regret that I trusted him. I regret that I didn't see it coming. I regret that my daughter has to split her time between 2 houses. She pauses. But I don't regret leaving. Not for a second. I nod, and I realize that I'm crying. Silently, without sobs. Just tears running down my face like my body knows something my mind is still trying to process. I have an attorney consultation at 9 a.m., Jennifer says. Downtown Portland. My attorney's name is Karen Reeves. She specializes in high-net-worth divorces. I'm going to give you her number. When you call her, tell her Jennifer sent you. Tell her everything. I can't afford, I start. Yes, you can, Jennifer says. Karen works on contingency for cases like ours. You're going to get a settlement, and that settlement is going to pay her fees. She writes the number down on a coffee cup sleeve and hands it to me. What do I do until 9 a.m., I ask. You sit here, Jennifer says, and you let yourself feel whatever you need to feel. And you don't go back, no matter what he says, no matter what Linda says, no matter how much it hurts. You don't go back. How do you know I won't? I ask. Because you're here, Jennifer says, and that takes a kind of courage that doesn't just disappear. She stands up, finishes her coffee, and starts to walk away. Wait, I call out. Will I see you again? Jennifer turns back. Maybe, she says. Maybe at the attorney's office. Maybe at some divorce support group in a church basement 5 years from now. She smiles, and it's the first real smile I've seen on her face. But probably not, because we're both going to rebuild our lives, and we're not going to need each other anymore. And that's okay. That's actually the goal. She disappears into the darkness of the platform, and I'm alone again. I pull out the coffee cup sleeve with Karen Reeves's number written on it, and I hold it like it's the most important thing I own. The platform clock reads 12:34 a.m. I have 5 hours and 41 minutes until dawn. 5 hours and 41 minutes until I can call a lawyer and start the process of taking my life back. I pull my knees up to my chest and wait. The sun comes up at 6:47 a.m. and I'm still on the platform. I haven't slept. I've just sat here for 7 hours, watching the darkness turn gray, then blue, then finally gold. My body feels hollow. My phone, turned back on at 6 a.m., has been buzzing constantly. Messages from Michael, from Linda, from my mom, from people I haven't talked to in years who somehow already know something is wrong. I ignore all of them. At 8:55 a.m., I call Karen Reeves's office. A woman answers on the second ring. Karen Reeves and Associates, how can I help you? I need to speak with Karen, I say. Jennifer referred me. I need a divorce attorney, and I need one today. There's a pause. Then, can you hold for one moment? Karen picks up before the hold music even starts. You're Jennifer's friend? I met her here, I say. Last night, Union Station. She said you could help me. Are you safe? Karen asks, and the directness of it makes me want to cry. Right now, yes, I say, but I don't know about later. Can you come to my office in 1 hour? I can. I do. Karen's office is in a converted brownstone downtown, the kind of place that costs more per square foot than most people's houses. She's waiting for me when I walk in, and she's not what I expected. I thought she'd be polished, intimidating, the kind of woman who makes you feel small. Instead, she's maybe 60, with gray hair and reading glasses on a chain, and she looks at me like she's seen this exact moment 100 times before. Tell me everything, she says. And I do. I tell her about the text from Tanya, about the Denver trips, about the cash advances, about Linda and Michael's mother, and the way he touched my arm that last night while lying to my face. About the bruise Jennifer showed me, and the timeline she'd constructed, and the folder labeled tax returns that actually contained financial crimes. Karen takes notes. She doesn't interrupt. She doesn't make me feel like I'm crazy or overreacting. When I finish, she sets down her pen and looks at me over her glasses. Here's what we're going to do, she says. First, I'm filing for an emergency protective order. That means he cannot contact you, cannot come within 500 feet of you, and cannot attempt to intimidate you in any way. The hearing is Friday. Can he fight that? I ask. He can try, but you have documentation of his infidelity, and you have Jennifer's testimony about his behavior. That's enough for a temporary order. She pauses. Second, I'm filing for immediate divorce and custody. We're asking for full primary custody of Emma, with supervised visitation for him, until we complete the custody evaluation. Supervised, I say. Michael loves Emma. Michael loves Emma, Karen agrees. But he also cheated on you repeatedly while she was in the house, and he grabbed Jennifer hard enough to leave bruises. We need to establish that you're the safer parent. Once the custody evaluation is done and we've got clear documentation of his behavior, we'll adjust the order. But for now, we protect Emma first. I nod, even though my throat is closing up. Third, Karen continues, I need you to go home. What? I stand up. No, I can't. You have to, Karen says firmly. If you don't, he can claim abandonment. If you don't go back, he can claim you're unstable and took Emma on a whim. You need to go back. You need to get Emma's birth certificate, her vaccination records, her school documents. You need to photograph your bedroom, document anything that proves you're the primary caregiver. And you need to do it with a police escort. A police escort? I whisper. We file a report with the local police department. You go home with an officer present. You collect what you need. He legally cannot stop you, and he cannot threaten you. If he tries, the officer will arrest him. It's the most terrifying and most practical thing I've heard in 24 hours. When? I ask. Today, Karen says. This afternoon, 1 p.m. That gives him time to be at work. She's right. Michael never takes early Fridays. He'll be at Mercer, probably trying to figure out where I am, probably calling my sister Stephanie repeatedly, probably already constructing his narrative. At 1:15 p.m., I pull up to my house in a police cruiser. Officer Martinez, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes, walks me to the door. Michael's car is not in the driveway. I unlock the door with my key and we step inside. The house smells like it always does. The lavender candle I burn in the entryway, the coffee that's still in the maker from this morning. Everything is exactly as I left it, except nothing is. Take your time, Officer Martinez says. I'll be right here. I move through the house like a ghost. I go upstairs and photograph my bedroom, the bed where Michael and I slept, the dresser where my wedding rings now sit in a Ziploc bag. I take pictures of Emma's room, her clothes, her toys. I open the safe behind the painting in Michael's office and photograph the documents inside. Birth certificates, deeds, insurance policies. I pack a new bag, not running away clothes this time, just what I need. In the kitchen, I find a folder on the counter labeled Emma's School. Inside are her report cards, her vaccination records, a photocopy of her birth certificate. Michael has already organized everything I need. It feels like a punch to the stomach. It feels like proof that some part of him knew this was coming. As I'm heading back downstairs, I hear a car pull into the driveway. Michael's car. Officer Martinez hears it too. She puts her hand on her belt near her radio and positions herself between me and the door. Michael walks in without knocking, and when he sees the police uniform, his entire face goes white. "What the hell is going on?" he demands. "Ashley, what is this?" "Mr. Patterson," Officer Martinez says, her voice calm and authoritative. "I'm here to facilitate Ms. Patterson's removal of personal items from the residence. She has every legal right to be here, and you do not have the right to interfere." Michael's eyes find me. For a moment, I see something in his face that I haven't seen before. Panic. Real, genuine panic. "Ashley, please," he says, "we need to talk about this. Whatever you think is happening, we can fix it. We can go to counseling. We can—" "No," I say. And it's the first word I've spoken directly to him since I left last night. "We can't." "Is it about the Denver trips?" he asks, and the desperation in his voice is almost worse than anger would be. "I can explain those. It's not what you think. Tanya is just a woman you've been sleeping with for at least 8 months," I say. "A woman you took marital assets to see. A woman you made plans to see next month while you sat at dinner with your mother and pretended to care about our marriage." Michael's face crumples. "I love you," he says. "I made a mistake. I was stupid, and I was selfish, but I love you." "You love your life," I say. "You love your house and your career, and the way people respect you at Mercer. But you don't love me, not in a way that matters." "That's not true," he says. "Ashley, come home, come upstairs, let's talk about this." "No," I say again. "I'm done talking." I turn away from him and walk toward Officer Martinez. She escorts me out to the cruiser, and I get in the back seat. As we drive away, I look back once. Michael is standing in the doorway, his hand raised like he's trying to stop me from leaving. But I'm already gone. The protective order hearing is Friday morning. Michael shows up with his own attorney, a man in an expensive suit who looks deeply unhappy to be there. Karen has prepared me for this. She's given me a binder full of screenshots, emails, documentation. She's prepared Jennifer's written statement about the bruises, about the threats, about Michael telling her he'd make sure she never saw her daughter again. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Patricia Wong, reads through the paperwork with a grim expression. "Mr. Patterson," she says finally, "do you dispute these allegations?" "I dispute the characterization," Michael's attorney says smoothly. "My client made a poor choice in his personal life, but that does not constitute grounds for a protective order. He has never threatened Ms. Patterson. He has never been violent." Your Honor, Karen says, standing up, I have a witness who is prepared to testify that Mr. Patterson grabbed her with enough force to leave bruises and threatened to take her child away if she attempted to leave him. That same pattern of behavior is likely to continue with my client if she does not have legal protection. That witness is not Ms. Patterson, Michael's attorney says dismissively. No, Judge Wong says quietly, but it establishes a pattern of behavior. She looks directly at Michael. The temporary protective order is granted, she says. You are not to contact Ms. Patterson by phone, email, text, or in person. You are to maintain a distance of at least 500 feet from her residence and place of work. Any violation of this order will result in arrest. Do you understand? Michael nods, his jaw clenched. This order is effective immediately and will remain in place until the full custody hearing, which will be scheduled for 4 weeks from today. Judge Wong bangs her gavel. Next case. As we leave the courtroom, Michael tries to catch my eye, but I don't look at him. Karen squeezes my arm. You did good, she says. Over the next 4 weeks, the machinery of divorce grinds into motion. Karen hires a forensic accountant. The accountant goes through Michael's finances with a microscope and finds exactly what Jennifer predicted. Cash advances, hotel charges, dinners at restaurants in Denver that Michael claimed he'd never visited. The total comes to approximately $47,000 spent on his affair with Tanya. The accountant also finds something else. Michael has been taking early distributions from his 401k, not unusual in itself, but the timing is suspicious. Every time he'd taken a trip to Denver, he'd emptied a portion of the account. The total in unauthorized early distributions? $132,000. Tanya Volkov is not just a mistress, she's an investment. When Karen presents this to Michael's attorney, the tone of the negotiations changes immediately. Suddenly, Michael is very interested in reaching a settlement. The divorce is finalized 6 months later. I get primary custody of Emma, with Michael having supervised visitation 3 days a week until the custody evaluation is complete. I get the house, free and clear. I get $815,000 in the settlement, my half of the liquid assets, adjusted for the money he'd spent on his affair. I get health insurance through a COBRA plan for the next 18 months. I get the 401k, less the early distributions he'd made. It's not $2 million, but it's enough. It's enough to hire a nanny. It's enough to restart my graphic design business. It's enough to know that Emma and I will be okay, even if everything falls apart again. Michael doesn't fight the settlement. His attorney tells Karen that he's already started a new relationship and is anxious to move forward. I don't know if Tanya is still in the picture. I don't care. The day the divorce is finalized, I get a text from an unknown number. It's Jennifer. Saw the court documents. Well done. My hearing is next month. Looking forward to being on the other side of this. I text back, you're going to be fine. You're stronger than you know. Her response comes immediately. So are you. 6 months after that, I'm at the farmer's market on a Saturday morning when I see Michael. He's with Emma, which is fine. It's his visitation day. But he's also with a woman I don't recognize, and she's holding Emma's hand like she's been doing it for years. I could feel angry. I could feel betrayed. Instead, I just feel tired. Emma sees me and waves. Hi, Mommy! I wave back and smile. Michael nods at me, not friendly, not cold, just acknowledging that we exist in the same space now, and neither of us can do anything about it. As I'm leaving the market, I pass by a bench where an older woman is sitting alone with a coffee. She looks familiar. It takes me a moment to realize why. It's Linda, Michael's mother. She looks smaller than she did before, diminished somehow. When she sees me, her face goes red. I don't stop. I don't owe her anything. But I don't walk past without acknowledging her either. Hi, Linda, I say politely. How are you? She stares at me like I've spoken in a language she doesn't understand. She starts, and then her voice cracks. I'm sorry. I stop walking. For what? I ask. For believing him, she says quietly. For thinking you were the problem. For not asking him harder about the Denver trips. for a lot of things. I consider this for a moment. I'm sorry too, I say finally. I'm sorry that your son made choices that hurt everyone around him. Linda nods, and I see tears on her face. I keep walking. 2 years after the divorce is finalized, I'm at a networking event for graphic designers when I see Jennifer. She's standing by the appetizer table, and she's wearing a blazer that probably costs more than my mortgage payment. When she sees me, her face breaks into a genuine smile. "Ashley," she says, pulling me into a hug, "I was hoping I'd run into you." "How are you?" I ask, and I genuinely want to know. "Good," she says, "really good. My daughter's thriving. The custody evaluation went in my favor, so now it's 60-40 instead of 50-50. I got my settlement finalized last year, and I just started a new business consulting for women going through high net worth divorces." "That's incredible," I say, and I mean it. "It's what I should have been doing all along," Jennifer says. "Turns out when you survive something, you get pretty good at helping other people survive it too." She pauses. "How's Emma?" "She's amazing," I say. "She's in 2nd grade now. She's got her dad's math brain but my stubbornness. Teacher says she's going to run the world someday." Jennifer smiles. "I believe it." We talk for another 20 minutes, and it's easy in a way that very few conversations are. We don't need to explain ourselves to each other. We don't need to justify our choices. We just exist in the knowledge that we both made the hardest decision of our lives on a platform at midnight, and we both came out the other side. Before we leave, Jennifer hands me a card. "If you ever want to do consulting work with me," she says, "let me know. I could use someone who understands both sides of this, the financial side and the emotional side, someone who's been through it and survived." I take the card and promise I'll think about it. That night, I lie in bed in my house, the house that's mine now, that I don't share with anyone, and I think about the woman I was 3 years ago, the woman who thought she had everything figured out, the woman who believed that loving someone well was enough to keep them faithful, the woman who trusted that the life she'd built would last. I don't regret who she was, but I'm grateful I'm not her anymore. Emma is asleep down the hall. Tomorrow is Saturday, and we're going to the farmer's market, and we're going to get ice cream, and nobody is going to interrupt us or demand our time or lie to our faces. It's a small thing, but it's mine. I pick up my phone and open the Notes app. I start writing down the things I've learned, the way Jennifer described her business. I think about all the women who are standing on platforms at midnight right now, holding overnight bags and trying to decide if they're brave enough to leave. I know I can help them. By morning, I've written the outline for a consulting business. By next week, I've registered the domain. By next month, I'm working with Jennifer on her first official client, a woman in Seattle who found out her husband was embezzling from his company to pay for his girlfriend's apartment. The work is hard. It's emotionally exhausting, but it's the most meaningful thing I've ever done, because I know what it costs to leave. I know what it costs to rebuild. And I know that the women who come to us aren't looking for judgment or pity. They're looking for proof that it's possible to survive this, that it's possible to come out the other side and build something better. I give them that proof. I give them myself.